Welcome back. If you are new here, let's quickly talk about GenUI actually is. GenUI stands for Generative UI. Usually, when you talk to an AI like Gemini or ChatGPT, it replies with a block of text. But with GenUI, the AI can actually build real, interactive part of your app right in the chat. If you saw my last video, you might remember I used the content generator class with GenUI Firebase AI package. But that is no longer needed. In fact, Content Generator has been completely removed from the latest version of the GenUI package. In that video, I mentioned that if I got a good response, I would make another one. As a good news, I got 2 comments, which is enough for me, right? So, thanks to Chitti91 and TanmayDixit, this video is dedicated to you guys. However, I can't really call this as a continuation of the previous video since so much has changed in version 0.9.0. I'm going to cover everything from the beginning, but this time I'll also be showing you how to use your own custom widget in the GenUI. Let's dive into the inner working and internal structure of GenUI. You can skip this part and jump straight into the code if you want. But if you really want a deep understanding of how it all works, I highly recommend watching this entire section. This is the GenUI framework architecture. And this is how the flow looks like. The flow begins when the user submits a text prompt. The UI layer calls send request on the central conversation state manager. The conversation class packages the user prompt with the interaction history and trigger onsend, forwarding the payload to the external AI provider. The external LLM processes the request and begins streaming back raw data chunks over the network to the A2UI transport adapter. The transport adapter pipes the raw, unstructured stream data into the A2UI parser transformer for processing. The transformer identifies specific JSON structures representing UI tool calls, parses them, and yields structure events back to the transport layer. The transport adapter streams these parsed native message objects down into the Surface controller. The Surface controller updates its internal state with the new messages, notifying the Surface that a UI rebuild is required. The Surface resolves the tool calls by the catalog and renders the physical Flutter widget on the screen for the user. The user interacts with the newly rendered generative UI. Example, clicks a custom button or fills a form, creating a local event. The Surface controller intercepts the interaction event and emits a former submit action back to the conversation history. The cycle completes as the conversation loops this new interaction data back to the external LLM to generate the next response. Let's begin with our main screen now. You can see on the screen, I have GenUI chat stateful widget where I don't have much thing inside it. If you can see, I only have a scaffold, app, and a dialog widget. And in that, we have the padding and column. In this column, I'm going to add rest of the UI component here. Now, let's bring our GenUI core variables. Most of them are late initialized. So I'll explain about all of this one by one when I'm going to initialize this thing. We need some more variable like service ID, which is a list of strings. And then we have the text edit controller, which will be required for our text field. Begin our initialization. The very first initialization is our my catalog. We take the default basic catalog and combine with our own custom widget, response item card. We pass this catalog to our Surface controller so Flutter knows how to draw this. This particular schema is responsible for reading the data, and this will be passed to LLM as a context, so that LLM can generate the response in this particular structure. So this particular part s.object is coming from this JSON schema builder, which again is a package which you need to use. This is the package JSON schema builder. And if you see, I am currently using three packages. These are three important packages you need to have. The first one is GenUI. The second is the GenUI OpenRouter, which you can choose any other one if you want. This is just for connecting your LLM uh, with the GenUI. And then we have the JSON schema builder. So if you come back here, we have the JSON schema builder where you need to provide this first description, and then we have the properties, what all properties it will accept. So this is just a very basic chat box where if any response will come from the uh, AI, uh, there will be a small box in which this whole messages will appear in the chat. So this particular widget I have created just for demonstration, so that I can show how you can use this particular this custom widget in your chat box. Rest of all the widget will come from this particular basic catalog. And if you open this basic catalog, you'll find this whole list of the widgets, right? So you will have this basic catalog as a starter you can use. If you want your complete uh, catalog, you can create your own catalog. But for now, let's go with this basic catalog. And inside the basic catalog, I'll also include this response item card, which is my custom catalog item. Now I have named this again, this catalog item. I have named this catalog item as a bot message box, and I'm passing this particular schema here, and I'm also giving a example data for how this schema data will look like. And then we have the widget builder where I'm actually passing my widget here. And then if you see here from the widget, this is the context we will receive. And based on the context, you can actually get the values. So this particular value I'm taking out from this data context, and I'm passing that into this message. And this is very straightforward, simple. There's nothing much complex in it. Uh, just I just want the text response from LLM, and whenever there's a text response, I just want to take out that text response, and I want to pass that text response, which is here, and this text response will be displayed in this particular widget bot message box. Next is SurfaceController, where I'm simply passing the catalog. Since SurfaceControllers requires the list of catalogs, so in the list we have only one catalog that we are passing here. Next, we have our LLM service. To power this dynamic composition, we are using GenUI OpenRouter package, so we can tap into almost any LLM we want. Before going to the code, I also want to share you how you can get your OpenRouter API key. For that, you need to create your own uh, OpenRouter account, and then if you go to OpenRouter, you can simply go to this profile section, and there you can simply click on the preferences, and in the preferences at the top, very top, if you see here, you have the API key option. Now when you have this API key option, I already have one API key. You can simply go here and give a name to this API key. Let's say I'm giving test key, and let me give you the expiry as 1 hour, and you can simply hit on create, and here you will get this. Originally, I created GenUI OpenRouter package for my own personal use because I wanted total control over my model selection and how the app communicate with the LLM. But I wanted to share it with the community, so I published it on the pub.dab. The architecture is completely modular, so if you want, you can use any other package or even build your own custom client to talk to the AI. In setup, if you can see, we are passing the API key and some fallback models. You can pass up to 3 models, where if one model doesn't give the response, the other models uh, can do the job of the first model, or the same with the third one. We also have a system prompt to give the AI its personality, and most importantly, we pass it our my catalog, so the AI knows the JSON schema. So the AI knows the JSON schema of our widget. Finally, we set up the plumbing. The A2 UI transport adapter connects to our custom send request network logic, and the conversation class orchestrate everything. Now we have a listener here which listens everything, all the chat, and whenever a new UI is created by GenUI, it gets added by calling this on surface added function, which I'll implement in the coming code. And also the same process happen if something is removed, it needs to be removed uh, by calling this function on surface removed. This send message function will be called whenever users types a message, and when we want to send the given message to the conversation, so we will simply call this particular function inside our UI. Whenever a user inputs a text and we want to send it, we can simply call this function, and it will be sent to the conversation by this function send request. Now look at the send request method. This is where the magic happens. The send request function is actually responsible for sending your request to the LLM and communicating with it and finding the right UI to be generated. So if you see here, we are calling the LLM service, and then we are passing our messages as well as the history, the temporary history which we are storing here. If you can see, this is the history which we are storing every time we are getting any response from the LLM or whatever we are typing, uh, which you can see here. Notice the await for loop. We are not waiting for the AI to finish thinking. As raw text streams in from OpenRouter, we pipe those chunks instantly into transport.add chunk. This allows the UI to generate in real time. At the end, if you can see, we are adding the response which we receive from the AI model to this history. So this is the role of the send request, which is very important. Next, we have this helper function. Whenever a surface is added, if you can see here, it we have a listener here on the conversation which watch for every event, and if any surface is added, this particular function surface on surface added will be called with this event name, which is our surface ID. And similarly, we have another function to remove the surface. At last, when we have all these variables, we need to dispose it here so that there won't be any memory leak. So finally, we have implemented the entire logic for communicating with the GenUI as well as handling the actual pro where how the we have handled how to add the surface, how to remove the surface, how to talk to the LLM, and uh, this entire things is implemented, which is very core and important part of this GenUI framework. Now our next part is the UI, which is the simplest one. So I simply quickly bring the UI where you can see this is the actual part where the GenUI actual widgets will be built here. And these are the text field. We have the expanded here, which means it will take the entire screen, all the remaining space on the screen after giving the small space to this row, which includes a text field and a send button. So the role of the send on the submit function will call the send message function and also clear the text controller so that whatever text already sent should be clear from the text field. The same function is being called on the send button as well. So the role of these two things are similar, or we say same. And I've already shown you the implementation of the send message where we are simply removing all the empty space, and then uh, if there's no message, we don't want to do unnecessary API calls. So we are just returning from here. Otherwise, we are sending that message to our GenUI framework to do further processing. Now let's look at our UI component where this whole things will be drawn. So when the AI decides to draw something, it triggers our event listener and adds an ID to surface ID. Our Flutter list view simply loops through those IDs and renders the GenUI widget for each one. The framework handles all the complex parsing automatically. Since everything is set up now, let's try to run it and see the output how it looks. So let me quickly say hello to it. Okay, so finally we have our response. So this is a widget. This is my custom widget which I created, which I'm seeing here, right? So if you remember, I have in the system instruction, I mentioned that to use this chat message box whenever there's a text response. So when I said hello, if you can see it's saying, hello, I'm Deepak Assistant. May I have your name and contact number? Let me say yes to it. Okay. Now if you can see, when I said yes, it gave me kind of a small form where it's asking for my name and number. And if you remember, I didn't create any kind of widgets which takes name and number. This is dynamically created by GenUI, and this is completely fully functional. And I can enter a number and I can simply click on submit, and it will take my response. This form will take my response till the time it's processing. Let me click once more. I just want to show you the log as well. So basically, whenever you are kind of talking to AI and want to see what actually happening behind it and how the communication are happening, you can simply go ahead and see it here in the log, because I have added logger in the main.dart, if you remember. So this is because of this line. There's a whole logs which are coming, which is possible because of this lines of code. So let me bring you back here. So this is it. This is about all about the GenUI, very basic. I try to show you the demo with the version 0.9.0. I want to give a huge shout out to Andrew for his fantastic article on the A2 UI update. It really helped solidify my understanding of this new GenUI concept. I have left a link to it in the description below, and I highly recommend that everyone give it a read. I hope you enjoyed the video and found this breakdown helpful. If you did, please drop a like and subscribe for more Flutter and GenUI content.